Now, chat, don't have a completely chaotic discourse about what I'm doing here. Okay, I'm allowing it because I'm proving a point. So, if this turns into political chaos, I'm going to fucking have Snaky banned. I don't... You just get a big box of powder. They're all the same. Don't buy the marketing guff. Put soap in the main. Oh, it's that powder. I see what you're saying. Okay, I remember that as a kid. Like what? What are you talking about? I remember now. I know what you're talking about. It's a powder. I remember. Okay, so for context, this is why I'm doing this. Is there was a conversation brought up as to where I am politically aligned, and I said center of right, but some tests say I'm center of left. So I'm here to prove a point. And the reason is because I just don't give a fuck. So, here's the thing. As I just said, do not turn this into a political argument. If you do, it's an automatic ban. As much as I allow freedom of speech, I also understand that we need to keep peace. So, also my stream, my rules. Anyway, let's get this shit over with, shall we? Okay, if economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. I agree. And I'd always support my country whether it was right or wrong. I disagree. No one chooses their country at birth, so its fools should be proud of it. I disagree. And the only reason I disagree is sometimes nationalism can be pretty good. Can be useful because it helps build identity. Our race has many superior qualities compared with other races. I strongly disagree. Because there is no such thing as race, it's humanity. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. That is something I live by, yes, I agree. When you have someone you hate and someone else hates them and you hate each other, guess what? If you're going to take them down, you work with each other to take them down and then focus on each other later and then kill each other. I agree. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. Disagree. Law is there for a reason. Let's see. There is now a worrying fusion of information entertainment. I would say there is a worrying confusion of misinformation, not information entertainment. So I'm going to disagree there. Let's see. People are ultimately divided more by class than by nationality. I think there are a lot of things that people are divided by. Class is one of those, yes. But when you compare it to nationality, like, that depends on the country you live in, right? Like, if you live in the United States, you got a poor fuck like me versus a fucking rich fuck like Hassan. Or like, I don't know, not Hassan, but like, the point being is like someone who's richer than me versus someone who's poorer than me. At least we can all agree that we're all American. But like, class, I think class, yeah, if I put it that way, class is a big plot twist. You're just in a no lean whatsoever. We'll see. I'm doing this to prove a point. So, controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. Yes, I agree, 100%. Affordability is more important than your fucking job. So, it is actually 100% more important. I agree. Because you can't have a job without a dictation of the economy. So if there's no dictation of the economy, then you won't have a job. So unemployment is null and void. You're always going to have people who are lazy as fuck and don't want to contribute to society. What I will say, though, and this is what kind of skews the opinion a bit, is that I fully believe if you're a lazy piece of shit and you don't want to contribute, then you're better off dead. But that's just me, right? You provide nothing to society. You just don't want to contribute. You're just fucking useless. So I do believe that inflation is more important. That is negating disability. okay? Like, if you are actually disabled or handicapped in some form or another, then okay, you have a reason to not contribute. But, like, if you're just, like, some fucking, like, I don't know, like, some fucking useless piece of shit who is, I guess, abusing the system, fuck you. Like, go fuck yourself. Go get a job. People not seeking a job legally aren't unemployed. Yeah, you got a point. Alright, you got a good point there. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation. This is a heated opinion, and I'm sorry, chat, but we're already past the threshold to control the environment. I'd rather just see it burn and live through hell trying to control something that has already been destroyed. Because there's no going back. We had an opportunity and we missed it, so regulation is a disagree because we've already passed that threshold. So why try to force it anymore? We've already missed it. The planet's gonna burn whether we try to stop it or not. From each according to his ability to each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea. What is that? What is that? Like communism? Or is that like socialism? I don't know that one all too well. To eat from each according to his ability to each according to his need is a fundamental. That is something I don't know all too well. I'm gonna sit here and say disagree because I don't understand it all too well. The freer the market, the freer the people. Not really. I disagree. And the only reason I disagree is because the freer the market, the looser the regulation when it comes to that, it means more opportunity for monopolization, and that's always bad. It's a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now bottled, branded, and a consumer product. Yes and no. Because, okay, yes and no. Yes, because I do understand that there's a concept that water should be a right, but water is a finite resource. So, I'm going to disagree because, again, it's a finite resource. So, land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. Disagree. The reason why I disagree is, again, it's a fine line. Land is something that should be bought and should be sold if you can afford it. But if no one can fucking afford it except for like 5 people, then that becomes an issue, yes. Truly free markets lead to fruit companies overthrowing sovereign nations. Also, water is infinitely recycled. Is it though? Is it though? I thought there was like certain stipulations to where it's impossible. I guess okay, if you think about it like cost wise, then maybe. Like yeah, cost wise, if you take the cost out of it, then yes. But cost wise, like desalination is expensive. Deionization or radiation is expensive. Like cost wise, I can understand it being like a problem, and that's why I say it's finite. All water is always on Earth. Yeah, I guess you have a point there. I'm still gonna say disagree because again, I'm looking at it at cost perspective, whereas you're looking at it as like across the board, which I can understand. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who are simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to society. Like politicians, I strongly agree. Like Nancy Pelosi, yes, I agree. Like fucking Democrats and like Mitch McConnell and little rhinos, yes, I agree. Protectionism is sometimes unnecessary in trade. What the fuck is protectionism? That is a new concept. I've never heard of protectionism. The theory or practice of shielding a country's domestic industries from foreign competition by taxing imports, that plays against global economic globalization of the economy, I guess, right? This is gonna sound really shitty, but I agree. It is. This is gonna sound really shitty, but yes, I agree. But I'm going based off the context of nowadays, especially with China. So I say I agree. If I lived about 20, 30 years ago, well, I was a kid 20 years ago, but if I was like 30 years ago, I'd probably say that it's not necessary. Because at that time, the idea of globalization in the economy was kind of popular. Whereas now, it's not so much because China. So, I am going to say agree. The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver the profits to its shareholders. I disagree. Only because at that point, like if you look at it the extreme angle of it, yes. But then it leads to anti-consumer tactics. Right? But the only social responsibility that a company should, like I could see some things like being transparent, being opaque on what they're doing, right? That is a social responsibility thing, I believe. So I want to say disagree because that's not the only thing they should be doing. Yes, there should be a level of transparency. Transparency, I believe, is a social responsibility. That's why I try to be as transparent as possible as a public figure. Because, again, as much as I don't want to be, I've already signed my death wish away, being a public figure, by being a content creator. So transparency is a social responsibility, I believe. The rich are too highly taxed. I don't even need to. That is immediate. That is a fucking immediate. And you already know what I was gonna say. Those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care. Now, I do understand why this is a thing, but I'm gonna say disagree. There have been times where I was not able to afford insurance and I needed the medical bad. So, like for example, when I had my almost liver failure that happened literally last month, thank God I was on Medicaid, because if I didn't have Medicaid at the time before I had my private insurance, I would have been fucked with medical debt. So, thank you. Governments should penalize businesses that mislead the public. I agree. Absolutely. That needs to happen. There needs to be a dictation. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinational to create monopolies. That goes in hand with what I was talking about earlier. It does. You need restrictions on a market, because if you don't, you have these situations that would create monopolies. So I do agree. Let's see. Abortion, when a woman's life is not threatened, should always be illegal. I disagree. I'm always pro-choice. So it should be up to the woman. Like, it always should be up to, like, I'm always pro-choice. Like, I get the idea why people say they're pro-life, because the more numbers of bodies that we have, the more they could possibly contribute to the ever-growing economy. But the thing is about the economy with capitalism is it's infinitely growing, and that can always end up being a problem, right? So I look at it as like, it should be up to the woman. Yes, it should be. It always hands down should be. But I also understand why on the economics perspective, why pro-lifers say they're pro-life, because more bodies equal more consumers, which means in turn more money to pump into the economy. No one's gonna say that, but I will, because I understand what they're thinking. But I'm always gonna sit here and say I'm pro-choice, so it's up to the woman. They carry it, not me. I just provide the seed. All authority should be questioned. Absolutely, I agree. The reason why I agree is even now you should question the authority in question, because we don't trust. You can never trust the government 100%. They have not your best interest. and you give them more and more and more, they're going to take and never give back. So always question your government, no matter what is at stake. An eye for an eye for a tooth, and a tooth for a tooth. I agree. If I get something, if I give you something, I expect something in return. Yes, I agree. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up by any theaters, or should not expected I can't read because of dyslexia. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. No, I disagree. And the reason why I disagree is because they provide a public service to the community. Anything that provides public service to the community should always be taxed. And the only reason I say that is because it helps educate and enlighten younger generations on what type of society they're brought up by. Whether good, bad, or indifferent, right? And it gives them a kind of a window of opportunity to either contribute to that or break it and change it. And I believe that's important. That's always important. Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. I agree. Because you don't know what that person's going through. I've had this earlier with my college, and they almost dropped me out of my class. So, I agree. All people have their rights, but it's better for all of us that different sort. Oh my god, I can't read because of dyslexia. Jesus. All people have their rights, but it is different. It is better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep their own kind. That is a no. Again, I don't see race, I see humanity. So, good parents sometimes have to spank their children. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I agree. I was one of those kids. I needed my ass beaten every now and then. And look how I turned out compared to, some people. So yeah, I agree. Sometimes that physical discipline is needed. Yes. Call me evil. I don't fucking care. I grew up getting my ass beat. Sometimes it's necessary. It's necessary because it teaches you how to fucking not act like a shit stick as an adult. It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents. I agree. Yes, there are things that as a kid you are afraid to tell because you don't want to be rejected by your parents. It is natural and it's okay. Possession of marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. I agree, even though I don't use marijuana. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. I disagree, only because I believe that the idea of school should be to give kids a window of opportunity to create their own ideas and what they want to build themselves to be for the future. People with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. That is eugenics, and I disagree. Again, because you don't know what their genetics listing is. Someone who has Down syndrome ends up having a child who has the smoothest foods like Albert Einstein. You don't fucking know their genetics. So why are you trying to dictate that? The most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline. Yes, I agree. Again, it is important to have some type of discipline to teach you self-control. If you don't have self-control, you can look at any fuckhead in cities like Portland. So, DM me your email. Nikki, I don't have to DM you. It's a public email. It's a public email. It's a community public email in case you can't get a hold of me. And if you want to just get a hold of me directly, there you go. There are no savage and civilized people. There are only different cultures. Yeah, I agree. That is savage and civilized is European thinking, and that's just no good. That's old European thinking. Let me be clear. There are just different cultures. Those who are able to work and refuse the work opportunity should not expect society's support. Yes, I agree. I 100% agree. I just spoke about this earlier. Fuck you. You contribute nothing, you useless piece of trash. Anyway, when you are troubled, it's better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things. Yeah, I wish this is one of those ones where I wish there was a neutral option, because it could go both ways. I'm gonna say disagree, because sometimes in order to confront a problem, you have to think about it. You have to deal with it. First generation immigrants can never fully be integrated within their new country. I disagree. My ancestors were French Louisianan. Came from Louisiana when France had acquired the land, and when the US bought it, from my understanding, based on what I've read in my family books, they did just fine integrating. So that's bullshit. What's good for the most successful corporations is always ultimately good for all of us. No, that's not true. Again, because you're going based on the logic of it's for profit, and therefore their priority is their shareholders. So no, it's not good for all of us. No broadcasting institution, however independent its content, should be receiving public funding. Yes and no, because it depends on what it's broadcasting. So, like, if it's a news company, like a media company like CNN, it probably shouldn't be receiving funding because from like a certain party, because then you'd be receiving biased news, right? Where it's something like PBS, where the idea is to help educate and grow children, develop children's mind one way or another, or it's just community broadcasting, yes, that should be the case. You had to know my dead name now because I've had this email just for a long. Well, it's not like I'm gonna use. It's not like I'm gonna use your dead name, Snake. So I'm gonna say agree based on the idea that, like, you probably shouldn't. Let's see. Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. There's no counterterrorism right now. If we were in Bush era, then yes, I'd agree. But we're not living in Bush era. We're living in post-pandemic psycho fucking Democrat agenda. A significant advantage of one party is that it avoids all the arguments and delays progress in a democratic political system. So, yes, I agree, because you get shit done. Do not take this as an idea that I support authoritarianism. I agree because you get shit done. And although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. Yeah, I mean, that's common sense. If you're not doing anything wrong, I agree. Like, yes, I agree. I absolutely agree. That's common sense. Like, it absolutely is. The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes. Sorry, if you like did mass genocide and you got the death penalty, you need to go. I don't fucking care. Your life is pretty much done anyway. Why am I paying my tax money for you to live? Fucking go, fucking get that injection and get it over with. Your life is meaningless. In a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. I disagree. I strongly disagree, because the idea is that it restricts ideation. Abstract art that doesn't represent any shouldn't be considered art at all. I agree. I agree. Yeah, I'm sorry. I agree. Your fucking slats and shit mean nothing. In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. See. Okay, here's the thing, chat. I'm using my in this one. I'm going to use my experience as a correction officer into play, because this is actually important for people who have never worked in that system or have been through that system. No, right? So I worked within that system, so I've seen it firsthand. When you don't allow people to punish, you don't have the ability to keep order, right? In that setting, right? I have had it both ways. I've seen it with restriction and I've seen it with rehabilitation. People who use the rehabilitation in that setting tend to take advantage of certain things and bend things to their whim. So you need a balance of those two. So I'm going to say agree, because the idea is you're in jail for a reason. If you wanted rehabilitation, you need to go to a fucking actual rehab and work on yourself for real. Like, it is a waste of time to try to rehabilitate some criminal. Again, you wanted to be fucking rehabilitated, go to a rehab. I agree. The business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist. That's comparing apples and oranges. That's comparing apples and oranges. They serve their different purposes. I disagree. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be home. That's a disagree. That is a fucking disagree. I don't care. Listen, listen, I'm not gonna lie. I am a submissive male, right? I can tell you right now, if I had like a mommy dom, I would be the homemaker. I would, hands down. If I had, I would be the or even in a normal scenario, I would just be the fucking stay-at-home dad. Why? Because I can. So yeah, I'm a submissive male, and I can simply admit that, like, yeah, like, that's not always the case. Multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resources of developing countries. I mean, that's a multi-layered question there. Again, it depends on the scenario. Where's the money going? Where's a big portion of the money going? Obviously to the corporation, but is the government of that country getting the money back? I'm gonna say yes, because again, it's a question I wish there was a neutral on, because it really just depends. Okay, I'm uploading the games to my drive because it's too big for the Gmail. Jesus Christ, Snake, what the fuck? What did you send? Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. Again, that's a case-by-case scenario. I wouldn't want to have my rights stripped of me, no matter what age and maturity I am. But at the same time, you know, in order to mature, you have to understand that things are just going to fucking be the way they are, and you have no control over it. So I'm gonna say agree, because yeah, it's again one of those weird ones that it's like neutral as fuck. I got like a gig of itch games. Jesus fucking Christ, Snake. Astrology accurately explains many things. Yeah. I mean, not accurately, but like, you know, science is ever changing. So you cannot be moral without being religious. I disagree, because even the religious, depending on how extreme they are, can be fucking corrupt. You want to look no further than televangelism and Jehovah's Witness and Mormonism. So I disagree. Sorry. You can be morally righteous and not be religious. I've seen people do that. I'm not saying me, but I'm just saying. Charity is better than Social Security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged. No, because charity can easily be corrupt, and I'm not saying Social Security can't, but at least there's a basis, a foundation for those people who genuinely need it. Charity is not something that can be relied on. It's an added bonus. A gig compressed, by the way. It's a 7-step. G. Oh my god. Fuck. Some people are naturally unlucky. I agree. It is important that my child's school instills religious values. I strongly disagree because that's not the point of school. Sex outside marriage is usually immoral. I disagree because I've had sex with my ex-girlfriend, multiple times. We weren't married. I guess I'm an immoral fucking filthy piece of shit. Same-sex couple in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. Should not be excluded. Okay, I'm making sure because that's a touchy one, and I know I'm dyslexic, so I'm gonna say I agree. Pornography depicting consenting should be legal for the adult population. Yep, hands down. I am pro-sex worker. Very much pro-sex worker. What goes on in a private bedroom between consenting is no business of the state. I agree. No one can feel naturally homosexual. These days, openness about sex has gone too far. Alright, chat. You ready to see where I politically stand? Oh boy! Are you ready? I'm ready. I already know where I stand, but do you want to know where I stand? I can show you. Okay, so this kind of shows us what this is basically, right? So the top is authoritarian, right, which is right-winged. Libertarian, which is the bottom, which is social, and left is socialism. So where do I stand? This is all... I told you. I fucking told you. I see myself center of right, but I'm apparently very center of left. Now, I never, ever, 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 ever want to hear that I am fucking, hateful, dictatorial, or authoritarian at all ever again. I am just a fucking asshole. And that's it. Never want to hear it again. Okay? Alright.